Listen to part of a lecture in an undergraduate law class. The Introduction of a Law Course. Welcome to Street Law 101. For some of you, this will be your first time in a law course. Others of you will have had some type of law in high school. In either case, today I want to talk to you about what you are going to study and suggest some ways that might be effective for you to study. First of all, you are going to be studying American law, law which is based on the Constitution, English common law, statute, and administrative regulations. Now, all of you know that our Congress makes laws in Washington, D.C., and our states make their own laws in their state capitals. So we have statutes at both levels of government. These laws are referred to as statutory law. The Constitution of the United States is the highest law of the land. Laws made by Congress and the state legislatures cannot violate the Constitution. The states also have constitutions. This kind of law is known as constitutional law. Administrative regulations are also laws. Each level of government has administrative agencies which make regulations, and these regulations have the force of law. For example, the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Internal Revenue Service are examples of federal agencies which make rules and regulations that become law. The FTC, or the Federal Trade Commission, is another example. This agency makes rules about deceptive advertising and rules which relate to other matters of consumer importance. I see some puzzled looks. Don't worry, we will talk more about the agencies later, so I will have plenty of time to answer your questions about details. The English common law is traditional and unwritten law. It was court-made law, not law made by the legislature. And when the colonists arrived in America, they brought with them the idea of English common law. Today we still have court-made law, and we still refer to our common law traditions. Court-made law is what we call case law. Now, some of the common law has been gathered together and made into statutes. The Uniform Commercial Code is an example of common law in the area of sales of goods and other commercial law which has been made into statutory law. Now let me stop for a moment. Please do not feel overwhelmed. All of this will come into focus as we break each segment apart and study it separately. I am trying to give you an overview today. So let's proceed. I have just talked about some of the sources of law. Now you must understand there are some categories of law. Civil and criminal, for example. I am sure you have some understanding of the criminal law. Criminal law involves crimes against society or the state. The state passes a law that people cannot steal, also that drivers cannot exceed the speed limit. Understand? These are offenses against the state. Now civil law is different. Here you have a wrong against a person. It is a wrong and not a crime. And the wrong is against an individual, not the state. For example, someone may enter into a contract to buy a piece of land and has the money to pay the landowner, and the landowner changes his mind. So the buyer wants to make the seller convey or turn over the land. The seller has wronged the buyer. This is a civil law case. Another category of law you need to remember is the substantive procedural category. Substantive law relates to subject areas. Contracts, torts, products liability, real estate, family law, and corporations are examples. And there are a lot more, too. Procedural law is about procedure, or how to do something. How to file a lawsuit, how to conduct a jury trial, how to file an appeal. The first day of a law class is probably the most difficult first day of any class you will ever have. Don't be discouraged. It will become much more clear as we break down the topics. We will go slowly and we will learn general principles and rules of law. And by that I mean what most states follow. Sure, each state has its own rules and law, but the general rule is followed by the majority of states. This class is not for the purpose of making you experts. It is to give you an overall understanding of rules of law. So next class, we will talk about how to study law, and I will show you a good way to take notes so you can remember the court cases that we will be reading. I hope to see you all next time.
Now get ready to answer the questions. You may use your notes to help you answer.
Number 1. What is the lecture mainly about? Number 2. In the lecture, the professor explains substantive law. Indicate whether each of the following is included. Click in the correct box for each phrase. Number 3. Why does the professor mention the Constitution? Number 4. According to the professor, common law is...
Listen again to part of the lecture, then answer the question.
So we have statutes at both levels of government. These laws are referred to as statutory law.
Number 5. What does the professor mean when he says this?
So we have statutes at both levels of government.
Listen again to part of the lecture, then answer the question.
So next class we will talk about how to study law, and I will show you a good way to take notes so you can remember the court cases that we will be reading. I hope to see you all next time.
Number 6. Why does the professor say this?
I hope to see you all next time. Listen to part of a conversation between a student and the director of housing. Changing roommates.
Good morning, Mrs. Johnson. I really need to talk with you.
Well, of course. Come in, Beth.
I know it is only October, but I really need to change roommates.
Well, let me hear about your problem, Beth. You know, Beth, college is all about adjusting, and we do have policies about changing rooms and roommates. I would like for you to tell what is going on.
Well, let me start from the beginning. I like my roommate, but I just can't stand to be in the room with her anymore.
All right. Now tell me exact reasons why you don't think you want to stay in the same room.
Well, the first week of school, the room was a mess. All of her things were all over the room. She didn't put anything away. Nothing hung up in closets, nothing in drawers. The boxes she brought to school just stayed in the middle of the room, and the room is small. She just never got unpacked and...
Well, did you mention it to her? You know, we all have different habits, and in college, as in life, people have to communicate with each other to know what is bothering someone. So tell me if you tried to solve the problem and how you tried to solve it.
Well, I asked her when she was going to put all that stuff away, and then she got kind of nasty and said she hadn't had time and that she would move it more into the corner and it wouldn't bother me. But then she didn't do it.
Did you ask her again? Possibly she is very busy and doesn't realize the clutter bothers you.
Well, I know she doesn't care that it bothers me. I like to have a neat and tidy room, and also she stays out really late and then turns on her TV and has the volume up really loud into the early hours of the morning. And I can't get enough sleep, and I'm very tired when I wake up in the morning because I haven't been able to sleep.
Well, I am beginning to understand your problem.
Well, do you think I can move into a different room? I know that Susie, who lives down the hall, doesn't have a roommate.
Well, Beth, at this early time in the semester, I am not going to have you move. Here's what I want you to do.
But I really don't like my roommate anymore.
Okay, let's do this before we decide whether you can change rooms and roommates. First, I want you to have a talk with your roommate. Explain to her that you like her, but there are a few problems which have arisen. Then, tell her what things are bothering you. Keep your tone of voice friendly. I know that may be hard because you are frustrated, but it is very important to try to work this out in a friendly way. Talk about the major issues, the clutter, the loud TV, and that you are so tired every morning because of the noise.
Well, what happens if she tells me I shouldn't be upset? Then what do I do?
Let's hope she will be receptive and you two can agree on some things, like keeping the room more organized and keeping the volume on the TV lower so you can sleep. And then, if that works, you should have a better relationship with your roommate.
And if she doesn't cooperate? Then what do I do?
Then you come back and talk with me. We can discuss what efforts you have made and whether I should meet with both of you to iron out the situation. And if we can't resolve the matter after the three of us talk, I will consider letting you change rooms and roommates. I appreciate your coming to talk with me and want you to go back and try what I have suggested. If that doesn't work, come back and we will try something else.
Thanks for taking the time to discuss this with me. I am not confident my talk with her will work, but I will try to talk to her, and I will come back if things don't work.
Now get ready to answer the questions. You may use your notes to help you answer.
Number 7. Why does the student want to talk with the housing director? Number 8. What does the housing director do first? Number 9. Why does the student mention Susie?
Listen again to part of the conversation, then answer the question.
Okay, let's do this before we decide whether you can change rooms and roommates. First, I want you to have a talk with your roommate. Explain to her that you like her, but there are a few problems which have arisen.
Number 10. Why does the housing director say this?
First, I want you to have a talk with your roommate.
Listen again to part of the conversation, then answer the question.
If that doesn't work, come back and we will try something else.
Number 11. What can be inferred about the housing director?